All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, August 12th, 2024. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. We'll get right into the markets here. What happened today was really all about the commodities. There was some fear about the whole Iran and Israel strikes, and there was the VIX actually ended up closing flat. It was really, I don't want to say cratered earlier, but it was down like 6% earlier on, and then it actually ended up closing about flat. We'll look at the charts because it's been a major mover as we predicted since last week. But today was all about commodities rally. It was the gold miners, it was oil, it was silver. So we'll take a look and we'll see how we're looking for the year. All right, so let me share my screen with what happened today. It was a pretty quiet day, more digestion period. Earnings are kind of out of the way, minus the big monster Nvidia. But this one today. So commodities rally. Okay, like I said, the junior gold miners were up 3.5% today. We got a little comments in the chat. Thank you. If you got some tickers, if you want me to put in, I will highlight them, buddy. Oil ran up 3%, gold was up 1.5%, and silver up 2%. We highlighted silver last week and said it was a good candidate for a long, and voila, added 2% today. I do want to note that today there was also no significant multiple sigma down side movers. So this just screams, flashing lights to me, digestion period, VIX not ripping as it was, nothing being really liquidated. It looks like the worst was behind us with that 510 low in SPY. I expect us to go up from here, as I said, for about another week or so, week and a half, an accumulation phase for the S&P to go right to about 540 for SPY or 5,400 for the S&P 500. And then we'll highlight the best trades of the last week. If you shorted VXX, first thing with that Japan crash last Monday, you absolutely crushed it. That's up 37% or down 37% the last 5 days. So absolutely extraordinary. It's been, basically cratering about 7% a day, which is what we call for. Got to do it. Because when you're right, you're right. I have been shorting more put spreads, so it's been working out nicely. Long nat gas, the second best trade of the past 5 days. Okay, I want that to go up even more so I can short it, but looks like there's a broadening here with the reduction in trader fear. Nat gas up 11% over the past 5 days, or an average of 2% a day. We'll see what it did today. And then long Bitcoin. Bitcoin is soaring back. It had a decent weekend, and that is up 10.5%. over the past 5 days. All right, so without further ado, let's get to the charts here. All right, boopity boopity bop. Okay, hang on, weirdo smile. All right, boom. So here was the intraday. Didn't really look particularly strong, even though we hit a high at 11 a.m., noted as this red caret up here. The orange line is a very important line I pay attention to, the volume-weighted average price, and really, right after we were holding it for the most part up until noon. Then once you had the European close, looks like sellers all across. It was really not having a success with it, but we ended up closing right above it, at it, I should say. The VWAP was 533.14. As you can see, we closed basically right at it, a hair above for an update in the market, up only 5 basis points. The Qs were up 20 bips, and IWM got hit a little bit harder, down 90 bips, or almost 1%. All right, in the bigger picture, as I said, going to see this mean reversion towards this 540 line, which takes us to the July lows, also coincides with those June highs, and is right around our 21-day exponential moving average. This looks like a gross, kind of an exhaustive low, and you never got really a bearish divergence here. Would need to see this go lower than 30. And still that great slope to the rise 200-day tells me this is a group you want to stay long. The high was July 16th. I don't know if we're going to be putting in new all-time highs in the next 2 weeks, but I do see us my call is going to 540 by the end of next week, and then basing around there, and then I'll have more, then. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at the moves. So big moves today, the gold miner juniors. Like I said, today was a lot of commodities trade, perhaps a bit of fear, although the VIX didn't rise, although SPY traded in a tight range, hence why it did not. So July 17th was the high for this name in the gold miners. So let me take a look here. Boopity bop. All right, so a very strong day, up 3.5% basically. This is going to be an accumulation mode. I see more ahead for this, all the way to about the 48 handle. I think this is going to get pretty close within its 52-week high. But I think this has some more room to go over the next 2 weeks towards 48. That would be a nice 10 more percent. It was up 3.5% today in one session though, so it's absolutely doable. USO, we highlighted this last week. We said it was going to go to about 78-ish and then hit resistance. Let's see if we still stand by that. If we had a little bit of vol expansion, it can do a little bit more. I think it could get to. You did get a little bit. I'm looking at a different time frame chart where this blue was expanding the Bollinger Bands on different time frame. It's regardless pretty heavy. This black line is a 200 bar or 200-day moving average. It's kind of just stuck at 74.40, so it's probably not going to go up, and away from there. But if folks pile in, and it looks like they were here, obviously, of course, Mideast fears always pushes this higher mostly, barring some OPEC bizarre meeting. But yeah, this could go to, I'll expand the target to about 80, potentially 81, absolute best. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this gets tired around. I know I said 78. You have the thrust to 78 today. Could it stop here? Yeah. But I don't want to get steamrolled and absolutely short, 78 and say that's the absolute top. Always better to see how the trade ends versus, calling for screaming fire in an empty theater or a packed theater, for example, and going against the herd. So let the trade, play its course. So this could have a little bit more. It's about $80, but again, that's only about 120 or 1.5% to go. Next big mover, again, the commodity show continues. Gold itself, GLD, all right, very, very close to high or an all-time high. It was 229.65. I'm looking at GLD instead of the big contract. So it was very close. It's $1.20 away here. So what do we say here? I'm guessing it's going to be similar to the gold miners in terms of more bullish upside, and that's exactly what we're seeing. You're starting to see that little bit of blue input too starting to expand. I think this makes its new highs within, potentially tomorrow, but I would say within 2 weeks. I'll be, pretty certain about that, but not too much further, just about to 230, and then basing closer to around 225. All right. And then silver, we were talking about this last week, saying it looks like a good candidate to get long, and it popped 2% today. Let us see. Probably similar in terms of the technicals. Yes, so I see further rally here. This one doesn't look like it's going to get tired until about, I would say 26.5, so another $1 or so. So that's 4%. You can get a nice pop in this. These also have cheaply priced, low price options. So something to be aware of. Nice rise in 200-day. Not a horrendous place to get long. All right. To the downside today, multiple sigma move. Told you there weren't any. And that's that. Top 5 gators the past 5 days. No repeats in charts. Nat gas, the best long of the past 5 days. So if you went into that whole Japan scare, and all that, and you said, what's the best trade on the board? Things are not always what you think. Nat gas is the best trade on the board, up 11% from the long side. Short volatility fared better. Now what? So I wish it could get to 18.5. I don't think it's going to do that because it's $4 away. That's quite a move. But if it did, that would be an easy short. I would just immediately buy puts because it just has pretty tags all along, and that's what happens when it's a loser. It can't surpass that 10-month or so moving average. It's just way too heavy. The math doesn't add up. So unless you have a total sentiment change and reversal and everything else, but the signs aren't here, considering it just put in all-time lows, 7 days ago. So this looks like it has a little bit more momentum to the upside, to be honest with you. I think this goes to, looking at some moving averages, 130, about 15 even. So I say this has that's the higher peak. If I were to get a 15 print, 60 cents away, I would probably be very, 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 very close. I'd probably put on September put spreads and just continue to roll that. Probably something like so if I got my trigger, my target, and it gets to $15, I'd have to check the IVs, the implied vols and such. But I would probably do something like a 14.5, 13 put spread. I have to check. And maybe do a call ratio or a put ratio 1/2 and help subsidize it that way. Hold on, I think we have a special guest. Is it the annoying dog? So, Rock, you gotta get in, you gotta get out. we're programming here. Hold on, he need to do his dance. Yeah. All right. So that was that gas. Okay. So Bitto was our second highlight. Bitto, ProShares Bitcoin strategy, the second best trade on the board from the long side, up 10.5% the past week. Today, not so great, down 3%. I think this carves out a low right around 1860. I don't think it's done selling off. Sorry, my viewer there that I know is very pro Bitcoin. I'm not sure it's done to the downside. I think this might base around 1860, which would imply a loss of 60 cents or a further 3%. But after that, I think this heads towards 21, and that'll be a nice move. Again, that's over the next 3 weeks or so into the beginning of September. I'm getting a question, where's next support? I like next support. I'm doing it on Bitto. I will do it for Bitcoin itself. Hold, since that's probably what you're looking for here. Yeah, the 200-day moving average here on Bitcoin is going to be support. It's pretty much held the entire way except this. Yeah, I love the support of famous last words. Love the support on Bitcoin. But 56K is your support there on BTC. All right. Oh yeah, and last thing I said. So I see it going to 56 on the support side, and the move to the high side is 63K, basically where it was flirting with a couple days ago. Alrighty, so that's my target for Bitcoin, and I am long in several accounts. EWZ, a huge winner. This is what we're talking about with the broadening. It's pretty important. So Brazil. This was not a great positive story. We were talking about this last week. I don't think they have massive politics or anything going on right now, but this peaked Christmas week for us at 30. We'll just round and call it $36. And then it got so fugly during the Japan crash where they're just, liquidate emerging markets, ask questions later. It sank all the way to $26. And now it's come ripping back to 29. Now what? This is a inflection point, and I think it's going to cave. It just hit a ceiling. I have two different levels, 2950 as resistance. It's a top Bollinger Band level. It's also on a different time frame for the Bollinger Band, on a longer time frame, as well as a longer moving average. The 200-day moving average is all the way up here at 31.5. Looking at shorter term moving averages, and also just visually, you could see these are the highs going back to the first week of June. So you can see almost this W pattern. Boop, 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 boop. And I think it's going to start to descend, maybe not tomorrow, but this looks like it has a date with $28 soon. I would say within the next 3-ish weeks. And that would be a descent of 28. So it's $1.40. That's what is that, like 5% or so. So probably coincides with the SPY sell-off when we peak in the U.S. markets. All right, EWT is the fourth best long. This was up 8.5% in the past week, up 75 bips a day. Let's see if there's more meat on the bone in the trade. Yeah. So again, look at all the convergences of all these lines right here. They're moving averages, middle Bollinger Bands, as well as some Fibonacci retracements. This was totally like an oopsie. As you could tell, two great strong green bars below the support. Lets me know that was kind of a fake out. Shouldn't have been there. I like this support at 48.65 on here. However, it's getting a little bit tired. You can see by the bars too. You had a red one here, and look how much smaller these candles are getting, right? So there's less enthusiasm. It's not up and away. There's just a line of buyers. It's getting a little bit tired versus this one, right? We went from 45 to 48. Of course, that was great. Literally oversold. It registered a 28 RSI. Anything under 30 is a oversold. This could get a little bit if you have animal spirits take over. You can get to 54, but I don't see it going much more than that because I believe these candles are going to get smaller and smaller. And today's 70 bip move is kind of emblematic of that. And then, of course, the bell of the ball last week, DXJ, a huge mover. This thing's been ripping since then. It's up 8% in the past week. Today it added 1%. So not too bad. Similar to what we're talking about, the rising 200-day moving average. This has to, what I found from my experience is this can't stay here for like more than a month. 5 weeks absolute tops. I've just seen it in single stocks, different time frames, treating this as a moving, treating it as a 200 bar moving average here, 200 day moving average. Also do like an intraday day trading. It works well. You don't want to see it go below this for too long because then the numbers start to change. Black line will start to flatten, and then you'll see sentiment start to go from positive to negative. So all that being said, I think we called for this before, saying we're going to gravitate towards the 101 line, right? So voila, where are we at today? 90.5. What do we see? This can do a little bit more towards the 10. I'm still calling for that 101. I think it's going to recoup that 101, 102. Right around there. It would be a superstar if it gets to 105. I don't think it has it in it. So I'm calling for right about, the new 21-day exponential moving average is 104. That would be my absolute highest target. And I think 101 is coming in soon. All right, top 4 losers of the past 5 days. No repeats. Got to look at VXX. An absolute dog, down 37% in the past 5 days. Yours truly said that was going to happen. Literally called for a 50 handle. And that is what we have here. And I said it when we were trading maybe 80 handle, but I know for sure 70 handle. All right, so now what? Distribution mode for this. This is going lower. How low, you say? Let me see here. I'm going to stick with the 40-ish handle call. This looks like it wants to go towards 45. So that's another reduction of 10 points or 20%. So I see volatility, again, continuing to crater. All right, and that's going to be a lift to the markets. And then here, trying to always feature the top 5 losers of the past 5 days. I can only find 4 ETF real movers. So volatility was one. The other one was TLT, bonds. Okay, so bonds, prices fall, yields are up. Now what? Distribution for TLT. We highlighted this when you had this bar here, absolute fear. This was the Japan crash day, August 5th. Should have never traded out there. Very rare that bonds do that. Very, very rarely. That trades outside the bands, especially on a 20-plus year bond. And then started immediately to descend from, we'll call it 99 all the way to 95. And now where to? I see this going lower to 93. 93 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. All right. So that'll be higher yields. All right. And China back in the fold here. Not a massive loser, but it is down 1.5% over the past week. Let's see now what. Haven't looked at or focused on this area massively. Kind of had a little bit of a breakdown. You just see the chart, lower lows, not a great looking chart. All that being said, I think the support at 23.15 holds. It's not, saying a ton. It's basically where we are now. This one's going to need a little bit more chopping of wood to advance here. But I think this gets to 23.60. So nothing really super attractive in this. Maybe absolute tops 24 if there's, global exuberance or positive data out of China, but not super, super in love with that trade either way. And then home construction, the 4th biggest loser of the past week, although it's only down 1.2%, most of which came by today, down 75 bips. What are we doing here? Again, similar to when we're looking at bonds, some of these bars were absolutely crazy. This was a huge bar on the 16th. This was back in July. And then look at this candle. Rejection. What happened? Buyers rejected that price and said, you know what? That's a little bit too rich. We based for 5 days, and the buyers took it right back there. And what happened? Huge wick on that. Went lower. So now what going forward? I think we base around here. Specifically, I see a huge amount of congruence of moving averages around 113. So we're going to stay around there. And I think this is such a hot area of the market. Literally, I think the 3rd best trade since last August. In addition with, short volatility, long Bitcoin, and short nat gas. So I think this is like the 4th best trade actually on the board. We highlighted that on Friday. So this will base around 113. I think it's going to do some chopping to do still. This will move towards, I don't want to call for new all-time highs in the next 2-ish weeks, but this is going to head back towards 120. All right, so there you go. Best 3 absolute trades of the past 5 days. No repeats, short volatility, long nat gas, long Bitcoin. If you had that, congratulations, you're nailing this market. Some huge data due this week. namely the CPI. And that's the reason why some people are also saying that volatility is not just cratering, because people are fearful if the print is super high. So be on the lookout for that. And peace.